Hello, friends! These juicy chicken rolls are so easy, anyone can make them. Let's take 3 or 4 good chicken breasts. You know, I always pick the freshest meat to treat my family to a comforting dinner. Now, we need to carefully slice each one lengthwise into 2 pieces. We do this to make them thinner so they bake evenly and roll up beautifully. Now we do exactly the same with the remaining pieces of meat, keeping it nice and steady. Now let's cover our meat with some plastic wrap. And give it a good, gentle pound. We do this to break down the fibers, making the chicken incredibly tender. And it also prevents any juices from splashing around the kitchen. You know, my grandmother always said that patience at this stage makes all the difference. Flip the chicken, cover it again, and do the same to keep the thickness even. Let's go ahead and salt our chicken fillets properly. Now, let's add some freshly ground black pepper to give it a wonderful, warm aroma. To finish it off, just a pinch of dried garlic to pull the flavors together. Now let's gently rub the spices into the fillet with our hands. We do this to make sure every single spice bonds with the meat, allowing the flavors to penetrate deep inside while it rests. Doing this always connects me to the old ways of cooking, where you felt the food with your own hands. Now, stack the pieces together and pop them into the fridge for 30 minutes to marinate perfectly. While our meat is marinating, let's get the filling ready for our rolls. We are going to need 1 large, ripe tomato. First, we carefully slice it right down the middle into 2 halves. We remove the core to leave only the best parts. Then, take 1 half, make a few clean cuts lengthwise, and gently chop it into neat little cubes. We want to cut them fairly small so the filling sits perfectly inside the chicken without falling out. You know, the smell of fresh tomatoes always takes me back to my grandfather's summer garden, where we used to pick them straight from the vine. A little tip from my kitchen: always use a sharp, serrated knife for tomatoes. It cuts through the skin easily without squeezing out all those wonderful, flavorful juices that we definitely want to keep inside our dish. Once the tomato is fully diced, let's transfer it all into a deep bowl. We do this to leave plenty of room for mixing the rest of our filling ingredients later without making a mess. Let's add some fresh greens to the mix, starting with a small handful of parsley. If you come across any thick stems like I did, it's best to remove them. We don't want any tough bits ruining our delicate filling. Chop it gently, keeping the pieces medium-sized. We do this to ensure that every roll gets a beautiful, even distribution of texture and that lovely, peppery fragrance. There is something deeply satisfying about working with fresh, natural ingredients on a quiet evening. Just a small reminder from my kitchen: gather the leaves tightly into a small bundle with your fingers first. It makes chopping much safer, faster, and gives you perfect control. Let's slide the parsley right in with the tomatoes and move on to the cheese. Let's take our cheese and run 100 grams of it through the coarse grater. We want these larger pieces so they melt beautifully into a smooth, gooey center that contrasts perfectly with the tender chicken breast. Taking your time with these simple, rhythmic chores is honestly the best therapy after a busy day. Now, let's send all that grated cheese into our bowl with the rest of the ingredients. Let's give our filling a good, thorough mix until it's beautifully uniform. Making sure the herbs and cheese are evenly distributed is essential because it locks in the moisture and creates a wonderful, cohesive stuffing. There is something uniquely, deeply satisfying about watching simple colors come together into a delicious meal. Now let's assemble our rolls. Place the chicken fillet on the cutting board. Add a generous spoonful of our colorful filling and roll it up tightly. We do this to wrap all those wonderful flavors inside, keeping the meat incredibly moist as it bakes. Place that roll to the side and continue with the rest of the meat and stuffing until everything is beautifully assembled. Taking your time with each single portion is essential because it guarantees that every family member gets a perfectly wrapped, delicious dinner. When the rolls are ready, it's time to prepare the baking dish where we will cook them. Add 2 to 3 tablespoons of sunflower oil and brush it evenly all over the dish. We do this to create a nice non-stick layer, which prevents our delicate chicken from tearing or sticking to the bottom during baking. Before placing each roll into the baking dish, take a toothpick and pierce it through the meat. We do this to secure our little parcels tightly, ensuring they hold their perfect shape in the heat and don't unravel in the oven. Now that the chicken is in place, let's mix together a simple, flavorful sauce to brush over every single roll. Let's start by adding 2 tablespoons of yogurt into a small bowl. Now, let's spoon 2 tablespoons of mustard into the bowl right along with our yogurt. Let's give our sauce a thorough stir until it reaches a beautiful, even consistency. Blending the ingredients smoothly at this point is essential because it guarantees that the top of our rolls will brown evenly in the oven without any patches burning or drying out. Now let's head back to our chicken rolls and generously brush each one with our fresh sauce. We do this to coat the entire surface of the meat, creating a protective barrier that will keep the chicken incredibly tender while baking into a beautiful, deeply flavorful crust. Bake at 180 degrees Celsius or 356 degrees Fahrenheit for about 35 minutes. Just look at what a beautiful dish we've made. Now let's move on to plating and serving. Let's start by placing a fresh, crisp lettuce leaf onto a large serving plate. Double the trouble, double the flavor. We've just put out 2 fresh rolls. Pasta works beautifully with this dish. And to top it all off, a fresh vegetable salad for the perfect balance. And here is the final result. Look at how beautiful and appetizing these chicken rolls turned out from every angle. The golden crust, the juicy filling, and the fresh greens make a perfect combination. Try cooking this at home and your family will absolutely love it. Thank you for watching and enjoy your meal.